All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to unpack a scandal that, honestly, hits right at the very heart of public safety in South Africa. We're talking about a massive police contract that was awarded to a company with alleged ties to organized crime. The big question here is, how on earth did this happen?
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the number at the center of all this. 360 million rand. And just so we're all on the same page, this isn't for, paper clips or office furniture. This is a huge contract, paid for by you, the taxpayer. And this is really where our story kicks off.
So what exactly was this 360 million rand contract for? Get this, security services. Yep, you heard that right. The South African Police Service, the very people whose job it is to protect the country, were hiring an outside company to handle their own security. It's one of those things that just makes you stop and ask, why?
But believe it or not, it gets even crazier. The company that actually won this police contract, a company called Medicare 24, has been linked to a businessman with alleged ties to a crime syndicate. Just let that sink in for a second. The police handed a multi-million rand security deal to a company connected to the very people they're supposed to be going after.
Okay, so to really figure out how a deal like this even gets off the ground, we've got to look at the two main players here. You've got the businessman who got the cash, and you've got the police general who signed off on it. So on one side, you have Vusimuzi Kat Matla. He's the businessman behind Medicare 24, and his name has been connected to a syndicate that's supposedly in cahoots with senior police officials. Then on the other side, you have Lieutenant General Molefe Fani. He's the guy in charge of police supply chain management, and what a coincidence, he also happened to chair the committee that gave this whole thing the green light.
All right, so naturally when Parliament started asking questions, what was the official story? Well, according to General Fani and the police service, everything was done totally by the book. On paper, at least. Let's walk through their side of the story.
So their version goes like this. The process was super straightforward. 22 companies put in bids, an evaluation committee did the first pass, then an adjudication committee, the one General Fani was in charge of, made the final decision. And they endorsed the one and only bidder they said was compliant, Motsalala's Medicare 24. I mean, from the outside, it just looks like a normal, box-ticking procedure.
And General Fanani himself really hammered this point home when he was talking to Parliament. He said, and I'm quoting here, "The adjudication committee, which I chair, did not declare any concerns during their declarations. So the official message from inside was loud and clear. Nothing to see here, folks. Everything's fine."
So you might be wondering, how could the committee have possibly missed all the serious allegations against Malala? Well, their whole defense really boils down to one thing, the Central Supplier Database, or CSD. Now, this is basically the government's official list of approved suppliers. The committee's argument was, hey, we relied on this database and Malala's companies weren't flagged as a problem, so we didn't have any official reason to say no.
Yeah, but that whole "we did everything by the book" story, it started to fall apart pretty fast. As soon as the media started digging into this after the contract was already awarded, a completely different picture started to come out.
And this is where you see the huge contradiction, right? On one hand, the police service was publicly saying there was nothing wrong with how they did things. But then an official audit comes out and confirms not just one, but a whole bunch of irregularities. Oh, and it also found that some pretty crucial documents had just gone missing.
And we're not talking about small mistakes here, like a typo on a form. The audit found a whole list of really serious problems. I mean, the company allegedly didn't even have a valid license to operate. There were missing documents for third-party suppliers, incomplete franchise agreements, and then there were the really big ones, claims of tampering with the pricing and that Malala had basically put pressure on the officials involved. Which, of course, brings us to the big, obvious question that everyone was asking. How could a supposedly compliant and clean process end up with a winning bid that had so many massive problems? Well, General Fani's response was basically to plead ignorance. He argued that, look, if his committee had known about all these issues, they would have gotten legal advice and probably would have disqualified the bid. It's a defense that, kind of tries to shift the blame away from his own committee's responsibility to do their homework.
And this is the point where the story just blows up. This 360 million rand tender wasn't just some isolated mistake. No, it became a central piece of evidence in a much, much bigger parliamentary investigation into systemic corruption, infiltration, and capture within the entire South African police service. Let's just quickly run through the timeline so it's all clear. The contract gets awarded in June. By October, Parliament is setting up a committee to look into widespread corruption in the police force.
Then in December, the media really starts blowing the lid off this specific tender. And sometime after that, the official audit confirms everything, which forces them to cancel the whole deal.
And that wider investigation is looking into claims that are even more disturbing, if you can believe it. Allegations that the syndicate linked to Matlala wasn't just grabbing tenders, but was actively sabotaging police units, like the Political Killings Task Team, all while raking in cash from multiple corrupt contracts.
So, after all of that has come to light, where are we now? What happened next? Let's look at the immediate fallout and, more importantly, the huge questions that are still hanging in the air.
Well, the most immediate result is that the tender was killed, dead in its tracks. As soon as that audit confirmed all the irregularities that journalists had brought to light, the 360 million rand contract was officially canceled. Now that's a win for accountability for sure, but the story is far from over.
And that really leaves us with this massive, lingering question. This wasn't just about a dodgy contract. It was a deep crack in the very organization that's supposed to uphold the law and protect all of us. When the system that's designed to keep you safe is itself under investigation for corruption and being infiltrated, how do you even begin to rebuild that trust? That's the real challenge here.